Today we continue our celebration of artists' birthdays in January, and we are going to take a look at the famous Paul Cezanne, and I'm going to show you this really fun book that I love about his artwork and his life and his approach to art and what we can learn from that and use to inspire our kids and spark their own creativity. So Cezanne's work is a little bit hard to define. He was a post-impressionist painter, but he didn't quite fit in solidly with the Impressionists or solidly with the post-impressionists or solidly with the realists. He kind of worked around the perimeter of all of these ideas. And so his art is especially interesting to look at. Now, a few things that I really love about this book. First of all, I love the feeling of this paper. The cover, the book jacket, and the actual paper, there's something really nice about the quality of paper that was used in this book, which has nothing to do with the book itself, but I just thought I'd mention it because I look at a lot of art books for kids, and this one just stood out as really, it feels nice to hold and to look at. I also really love the style of illustration, how it's really playful and whimsical. We see lots of different kind of situations. Sometimes there's this background here, sometimes it's on a white to give you more kind of room to think and ponder. It's just a really fun book. I love the inclusion of the parrot, which is really fun. It adds humor and a lighter element to the story. So overall, this is just a wonderful introduction to Cezanne in a way where your kids are really going to identify with him and feel like they probably have something in common with him. He's a real artist who had the same challenges and struggles and thoughts that maybe they have sometimes. And this book does teach us so many things about how to use a growth mindset, how to honor your need to take your time in your art. This was something that was mentioned in the book, and it's something that maybe a lot of kids can relate to, that they need to take their time and they can't work quickly, and they need to kind of think things through and come back to it and think about it again. These are wonderful things and nothing to be upset about if we reframe our mindset around it, and especially exciting when we realize that an artist like Paul Cezanne had the same thoughts as he was creating his art. He really had a vision and a voice that he wanted to express in his art, and he was trying to do it in a really different way, something that nobody else had done before, both in terms of his technique and also the subject matter he was painting. So he was breaking new ground, and in doing so, kind of having to try things, see what worked, what didn't, and take that information and move forward, which for kids is exactly the process that they are exploring as they create art as well. There's something really inspiring about persistence too. There's something we can take from this book and apply to our own life or art making journey, whatever the case may be. But there's a part in this book that talks about how he did a portrait painting where the sitter sat for him over 150 times. And that kind of persistence and dedication, we probably don't need to take it that far with kids. I don't know any kids who would, want to do the same painting 150 times before it was finished. But just knowing that it's okay not to finish it the first time you sit down to create something. The book also explores ideas around his frustration when things didn't work out the way he wanted to in his art, and how he would do things with his frustration. He would hurl paintings into the fire, break his paintbrushes, poke holes in his canvases, and hopefully our kids won't become this frustrated. But I think hearing this story of a famous artist whose work is now celebrated around the world, is part of the collection of every major gallery and museum, and he had these insecurities and these doubts, and that he had to work through them even though things weren't working out the way he wanted to, and maybe he did things that we don't want our kids to do, burning their canvases, poking holes in them, breaking their brushes. But just to know that the struggle is shared with artists who are very, very famous and successful. There's a really funny line in the book where Cezanne is frustrated with somebody who he's painting their portrait, and he tells them to stay still, sit still and be an apple, which I think is so funny. And if you know much about Cezanne, you might know this very famous quote where he said, "With an apple, I will astonish Paris." And this is just kind of talking about the new kind of revolutionary way he's choosing to paint and show things in his art. But it's a really funny kind of connection, and one that as your kids learn more about Cezanne, they might come back and remember that and make that connection, which would just be so amazing. And this book has lots and lots of those kind of things. So I can't recommend it enough. This is a really great book to learn about Cezanne. And I hope your kids are very inspired, that they feel heard, that they can see themselves in Cezanne if they do struggle with issues like this. They know they're not alone, and they see that there is this amazing opportunity on the other side of being persistent and working through it and trying again, and that whole growth mindset. So enjoy the book and enjoy learning about Cezanne with your kids, and be sure to tag me at Art History Kids on Instagram if you share any of their art there. I would absolutely love to see it. Until next time, stay inspired.